Hi everyone. Am I audible and visible both? Quick question, chat section. Am I audible and visible both? Hi. Okay, so I have hellos from Hi Alfez. Hi Rishabh. Hi Soham. Hi Yashwant. Okay, Yashwant doesn't have the CR tag today. Hi Sen. Hi Senthil. Hi Sai. Hi Soham. Okay, great guys. So we have a couple of people already, and guys, I wanted to ask you a few questions before we begin, right? So we'll have Manik joining us very soon. He'll take over, but before he takes over, first let me just introduce something. So we have added this reactions feature here, right? So you can go ahead and give reactions to whatever he's saying, or probably if you're saying a yes, you can type in a thumbs up, right? And you can send a thumbs up from here itself. If you could see, there is a reaction section you would be able to see on your Zoom chat. Okay, people are already able to send the reactions. Great, guys. So this is pretty good to have. Okay, so we thought this was pretty fun to have as well. Okay, anyways, keeping that aside, chalo. And we are not sending emojis like this. Okay. So keeping that aside, guys, how many people today are the new joinees? How many people have joined today's class for the first time? Quick question, new joinees. Can we have quick answers only? There's no new joinee today. Or isn't there someone who has joined this class for the first time? Shit, there's no person like that. Okay, any which ways, guys. So since there's no new joinee, so going ahead, we already know what we have in these classes. But today we'll be having a special session. Okay, Rishabh is a new joinee. Welcome to the session, Rishabh. So I believe looking at him, more new joinees can say me in the chat section. So any which ways, guys, I won't be asking you to just introduce yourself. So no worries, you just have to type a me in the chat section. So what happens is that, guys, in these classes, we teach you coding from scratch. But we usually have few special sessions so that, you get a hang about everything else apart from coding as well. It's not just about coding. Again, guys, it's about getting a job. The target is getting a job. And hence, we are here with this session, which is on improving your communication skills. So, how many people, a very, very quick question, how many people here have ever given an interview in their lives? Have you ever given any interview in your life? Just a very quick question, yes or no. And since can we have this session being more interactive? Oh, we have so many yeses. Great. So we have no's as well. And what about the others, guys? Yeses or no's? Have you ever given an interview in your life? Okay, so I believe most of us say yes. So I believe we might have given any interview at college level. Okay, so we might be able to give interviews. We might have given interviews at college level, right? So since we've given interviews at this level, or have we even any job interview? Anyone giving a job interview as such? Great. So I believe most of us have not given job interviews. Okay, or many of us have already given job interviews, right? So I also change few settings here, guys. Okay, also guys, in today's session, just a very quick info for you. Another very quick piece of information is that once you go ahead with today's session, you can go ahead and raise your hand if you want us to unmute you, right? Or else I'll be able to go ahead and unmute you as well, right? Let me just try giving you the option to unmute. And once you'll be able to unmute, I believe you'll be able to interact better, right? So you can go ahead and raise your hand if you want us to unmute you. And let me just try unmuting as well. Okay, any which ways. Okay. So let me just see the answers though. No, not yet. Okay, most of us have not given job interviews. Given 2 job interviews. Okay, Mohammed Javed. Javed seems to be pretty much experienced amongst all of us. Okay, Javed, you're in final year. I did my final in 2021. Okay, guys. So we are having a separate conversation here. It seems any which ways. So since you've given job interviews, guys, or since a lot of us might have given job interviews, we do have a hand about what happens in this interview process, right? And we're pretty nervous before giving a job interview, of course. And what are other things that happen? I think most of us work on preparing resumes. Most of us actually research about our companies and then go ahead and give these interviews. So today, we'll be getting tips and tricks on how you can go ahead and prepare for these interviews, right? So since most of us haven't given these interviews, it will be very beneficial for a lot of us. And also, since if you've given interviews, we can just give you the right approach about how to crack them. Throughout the session, you'll be getting few polls, right? Make sure you answer these polls to give us an idea about what you as an audience want from our end. So this is something that will happen today. We try to keep this as engaging and as I should say as interactive as we can for you as a user. Okay. Okay. Coming back, Manik, would you be able to unmute yourself?
Yes. Hi, Shikha.
Hi, Manik. So, guys, Manik is already here. Can we have a quick hello from him in the chat section? Ritik Source lecture is
Hello,
from
hi
9 p.m.
everyone. Hi, Dili. Hi, Ruhan. Hi, Akula. So good to see all of you joining in the session today. Awesome. Great. Are you all excited for this workshop? Can we get some responses in the chat box? Shikha, meanwhile, I think we can also figure out if our students and friends can unmute themselves today in the session.
Sure.
Okay, so Yashwant is very excited. Deepak is also excited. Ashraf is also excited. All right, awesome. Sounds good. Before we go ahead and also kickstart this session, I do have a couple of fundamental questions that I would like to ask all of you. My first question being, which is the preferred language for all of you in the session today? So I can actually go ahead and speak in Hindi. I can speak in English, and I can also speak in Hindi and English both. So a mix of Hindi and English is also something that I can go ahead and use. Okay, so we do have multiple responses for people who are saying English. Couple of people who are saying Hindi and English as well. Okay, so for the larger benefit of the group, I will mostly speak in English. But if you do have any questions, or if you would like me to repeat something in Hindi, I can definitely go ahead and do that as well. All right. Awesome. Sounds good. All right. Okay. Coming on to my next and a little more important question, which is that what are your expectations from this session today? So all of you are here. All of you want to improve your communication skills is something that I completely understand. But if I were to ask you that what are your expectations, or what are you expecting, or why are you here today in this workshop, spending one hour of your life today with me, what would you answer, or what would your answer be? So Sohav is saying that he wants to get a boost on our HR interview round. All right. What else?
Manik, I've also enabled the option for users to unmute. So yes, they'll be able to unmute themselves now.
Awesome, folks. Good news. All of you can also now unmute yourself and answer. I believe the last time that I was taking a communication session, a lot of you wanted to actually, come on video and unmute yourself as well. Today, unfortunately, you won't be able to switch on your video, but you can definitely go ahead and, unmute yourself. Shika, can you please tell our friends here how can they actually go about unmuting themselves?
Guys, you might have received a notification where you can go ahead and unmute yourself. So have we received this notification? So I've just sent you a notification to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Have we not received such notifications?
That's okay. That's okay. Folks, what you can do is, if you would like to unmute yourself, you can simply go ahead and raise your hand. and we will actually go ahead and send you a manual request that will enable you to unmute yourself and interact with us directly. Okay. All right. So Ashraf is saying that he wants to learn good communication. Akula is saying interview tips. All right. Senthil is actually here for something a bit more technical. He wants to know how to negotiate the CTC effectively. All right. Okay. Awesome. Anyone else? Any other expectations from this session? Come on, come on. So I would love for you to actually go ahead and also raise your hand so that I can, send you a request for you to unmute yourself. Otherwise, in case if you are not really comfortable with, coming on audio and speaking with me directly, that is also something which is absolutely okay. But at the same time, I would highly, highly recommend you to be extremely attentive and really fast and prompt in sending replies in the chat box. Can we all do that? Can you be really fast in replying in the chat box? If you can, let me see some quick yes from all of you in the chat box. एक बार जल्दी से सभी yes डाल दो chat box में so that I know that I have everyone's attention here and I can go ahead and kickstart this workshop for all of you. Okay, so I do have a lot of yeses from everyone who is here. So before I go ahead and start off with this workshop, let me also quickly introduce myself since I believe that most of you might be meeting me for the first time in this session today. So my name is Manik. I will be your host, come mentor, come instructor for this particular workshop today. And just to give a little bit of my background. So I come from a non-tech background. I studied economics from Delhi University and graduated in 2016. Post which I happened to work at this startup which has grown really immensely now. It's called Urban Company. Back then it was called Urban Clap. So I worked there for about 3.5 years in various departments and verticals, and I also helped the organization, launch new categories and new cities. For example, Pune, Hyderabad, Chennai, Calcutta, Mumbai, Bangalore. So these are some of the cities that I helped the team launch their presence in. After that, I moved on to another, startup called A Black, which is Asia's largest online beauty school. We have students and people here who actually want to make a career in tech or in software development, and hence we do have live programs that all of you folks are currently also enrolled in, or some of you would be enrolling in. Similar to this model, we were actually helping people who were really keen on making, a profession or a career out of makeup or becoming a makeup artist. So we had live do it together programs and courses for such people as well. Again, it was a funded startup. So what I'm actually trying to say here is that I have close to a decade of experience in scaling businesses and identifying key problems. And it has been a couple of months for me here at AccioJob, and I've been fortunate enough to actually speak to over 1,000 students, and I believe that I have also helped most of them overcome whatever challenges they are currently facing in their professional or personal career as well. All right. So when I speak with students and when I speak with colleagues or friends in general, I think one thing which often comes up, especially with students who are, who want to kind of pursue a career in tech, is that they don't get to practice their communication skills that much. Now, when I speak about communication, it is not only, it does not mean that you're able to speak in English. It has a lot of other meanings as well, right? Communication can be written, it can be verbal, it can be just your body posture, and some other areas as well that we would like to cover in this session as well. Okay, so I believe, and I'm also quickly floating an open question for all of our attendees here today. If you are someone who in any capacity or form struggles with effectively communicating, please do let me know in the chat box. Okay. If you're, I'm repeating my question once again. if you are someone who struggles with any form of communicating, whether it is verbal communication skills, articulation of thoughts, written communication skills, general best practices that we should follow while communicating, if you feel that you struggle with this particular skill, and this is something that you would like to also improve on, I would recommend all of you to quickly let me know in the chat box so that we can go ahead and kickstart this particular session for all of you. So Shubham is saying yes, Rishabh is also saying yes, I do struggle. So only two people here who are struggling with the skill, or do we have other people as well? Ashraf is saying, yes, sir, I'm struggling to speak. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so we have a lot of yeses in the chat box. All right. Okay. Awesome. So right now, what we will be doing is I will actually go ahead and share my screen for all of you so that we can kickstart this session. During the course of the session or the presentation, if you do have any questions, either you can put them in the chat box, but since this is a communication in itself, and the only way for us to improve our communication skills is fundamentally by speaking more. So I would highly, highly recommend all of you to not ask your questions through chat, especially for this workshop, but raise your hand so that I can unmute you, and then you can go ahead and ask me your questions through audio. ओके अब अगर आप मेरे से क्वेश्चन हिंदी में पूछोगे, इंग्लिश में पूछोगे, मिक्स लैंग्वेज में पूछोगे, हिंदी या इंग्लिश, मैं सारी ही लैंग्वेजेस के साथ कंफर्टेबल हूँ. ओके cool. A quick thumbs up before I go ahead and share my screen. So Kunal is actually asking the registration process and the admission process. Shikha, so if you're here, we can probably take a note of this. And Kunal, we will arrange a call back for you. Okay? Cool. So I do have a lot of thumbs up that I've been getting in the chat box. So I am sharing my screen now. And once my screen is shared, I would also request all of you to let me know if you are able to see my screen. Okay, just give me 1 second. All right. Okay, are you able to see my screen now? Can you please let me know in the chat box? Okay. All right. So welcome everyone. In today's session, what we are actually going to do in very, very short terms is that we're actually going to learn how can we think fast and talk smart. All right. So moving ahead, I do have like a very small activity for all of you who are attending this session. But before we go ahead, I'm also sharing some quick guidelines with all of you for today. So the first guideline is that we actually need to make mistakes in this session. That is something that we absolutely need to do. Okay, so this is kind of a requisite, and we cannot not make mistakes. We have to make mistakes in this session today. Secondly, something that we have already discussed, we can either talk in Hindi or English or a mix of Hindi and English. We're not mind readers, so let us please use our words. I cannot emphasize on this specific point enough. Okay, जितना आप अपने comfort zone से बाहर जाकर अभी बात करोगे, or the more effort that you will make right now, the better the results are going to be for you in the future. All right, so we are in this together. This is a safe space. यहाँ पे कोई भी किसी को भी जज करने के लिए नहीं आया है. हम सब अपने अपने कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स को इम्प्रूव करने के लिए ही इस सेशन के अंदर आए हैं. All right, unmuting ourselves and speaking freely is highly recommended. Let us let go of our telepathic powers and communicate. So मुझे जब तक आप लोग खुद से नहीं बताओगे that what are you thinking or what is going on in your mind or what are your questions, I won't be able to understand and hence help you further. So if you want to make the most of this session today, I would highly recommend that you raise your hand so that I can unmute you and then we can have a conversation through audio. All right. Any questions so far? Any questions on the guidelines that we have discussed? Please let me know in the chat box. Soham says no questions. So if everything is clear, you can let me know no questions in the chat box so that I know that I'm good to go ahead. Okay, Shubham is saying no. Soham is saying no again. All right. Okay, is everything clear? Can we go ahead, folks? Please do let me know in the chat box. All right, awesome. Everyone is able to understand what I'm saying. I hope that I'm not going too fast or too slow and you're able to catch up. Is my pace okay? All right, awesome. Folks, remember our ground rule for today. We have to be really prompt and active in replying in the chat box. Okay. Either we do that or we come on audio and interact. Okay. Chalo, cool. Okay, so coming on to our first activity for today, what you see on my screen is a sentence, and you have 30 seconds to count the letter F in this sentence. So 30 seconds, your time starts now. What you see here is a sentence, and I want all of you to count how many times the letter F is coming in this sentence. All right, so time is up. We go back. Okay, let us see some answers in the chat box. How many of you think that there were 3 Fs in the sentence? Okay. So Yashwan says 3, Akula says 3. How many of you were able to find 4 Fs? No one who found 4? Okay, Ashraf says yes. How many of you were able to find 5 Fs? No one? No one with 5? Okay, how many of you were able to find 6? Okay. So why did we actually do this exercise is something that I'm going to discuss in this session, but a bit later as we go ahead and progress through our session today. So I also have like another question which I want to ask all of you, okay? And that is something that you can see on my screen. So very big problem, but I want all of you to take a minute and identify which is the dominant feeling that you have while you're speaking spontaneously in front of people. So it can be an interview, it can be a normal conversation, it can be talking to strangers, it can be a presentation, it can be a debate, it can be a group discussion, any form of communication that you are doing, which is not pre-planned. What do you feel, or which is the most dominant feeling that you get while you're feeling and while you're speaking spontaneously in front of the people? Excuse me. So I'm repeating this question once again. Imagine, okay, let me rephrase this. Imagine that your dream job is to get in or is to work in Google or Microsoft or Facebook for that matter. So Google का example ले लेते हैं. आपकी dream job है Google में काम करना. And you have, you're speaking to the HR from Google. It is a virtual video call interview that you're having. Now, while you're having the interview, how do you feel? Can you define how do you feel, what is going inside you while you are present in that interview and while the interviewer or the HR is asking you some questions and you're answering? How do you feel is what I'm asking. So I have answers in the chat box. Soham says nervous, Akula says nervous, bit tensed. Okay, Swati is saying I speak correctly, but fear makes me dominate me and I was wrong. Okay, stress and nervous. What else? Excuse me. Nervous, little fear. I feel very nervous. Okay. I feel lack of words to express my thoughts. Okay. Less confident. What else? I am actually going to take a quick minute here because I want all of you to answer in the chat box. This is a very important question. And until we go ahead and think about this and write our answer in the chat box, we cannot go ahead and start off with the workshop until we know what the problem is. We won't be able to kind of solve it for us. Yeah. Quickly, we're taking 1 minute. I would go through all of the answers in the chat box once again. Okay. Okay, so I am reading a couple of answers from the chat box. What most of you have said, that you feel nervous, a bit tense. So nervousness, stressful situation, fear, heart rate rising up, right? Probably even sweating, okay? Fear of getting or being judged, right? These are some common answers that I've received in the chat box. Do all of you agree that these are some common feelings that we kind of have, while we are in an interview or while we are in a not pre-planned conversation? Is it safe for me to say that if I have to put just one word to this feeling, all of us, we feel a bit anxious while we're having, a spontaneous conversation with someone. Now, this conversation can be in any form, as I mentioned before. It can be an interview, it can be like a group discussion, a presentation, a debate, anything for that sorts. But while we are speaking spontaneously, we do feel anxious. Do you all agree with me on this? We feel some sort of anxiety in ourselves, and that anxiety, the severity of that anxiety is actually different for different people. But do we feel anxious while we're spontaneously speaking in front of people? Yeah. Come on, do you agree with me or not? Come on, jaldi say. We have to write a yes in the chat box if what I have said makes sense to you. If the person who I'm talking to has more knowledge, or if I think so, then I will surely make some mess. Dhirendra says yes. Agree, agree, agree. Okay, so a lot of yeses we have in the chat box. Now let's go ahead and actually talk about the solution of how do we manage or control this feeling of feeling anxious, or how do we manage anxiety while we are in a spontaneous, conversation. Now, I want all of you to pay a lot of attention here, because what we are actually going to discuss are a few, mechanisms that will actually come in really handy while you find yourself in a spontaneous conversation the next time that you are communicating with everyone. All right. Okay. So the first thing that I would like to discuss is that ask more questions. Okay, let's assume and let's take a quick example that the HR asked you like a random question while you were in an interview, and then what do you do in that situation? So usually what we do is that we, as soon as we hear the question, we start replying. Is that what we do? Can you all please let me know if that is something that we do, right? This is the only fair way that we know right now. If I've been asked a question, my natural impulse and my brain tells me to just reply to that question. Sometimes what we feel is that even if we didn't understand the question completely, Still, because of that strong impulse that we have, we started replying to that question. And while we're replying to that question, then we realized that, oh shit, I didn't know what the other person was asking, in the first place. Does this happen with you or not? Can you please let me know if this is something that has happened with you earlier? Come on, Senthil says yes. Soham is saying yes. I try to respond ASAP. All right. Okay. So my first tip to you for today would be that it is completely okay for you to ask questions. What does that do? It firstly gives you more time to slow down and listen, because listening is also a key lever and a key factor for you to learn the skill of effectively communicating. Until and unless you've listened to the other person effectively, you won't be able to be as efficient and as effective in your communication as you would like to be. Now, what is the second thing that happens when you ask more questions? So you get better clarity. You gain more context on what the other person is actually trying to ask you, and then you are able to answer more clearly, more concisely is also something that I would like to add here. All right. So what did we discuss so far? We discussed that our, my first tip for all of you who are attending and joining the session today would be to ask more questions. Okay. So if someone asked you a question and you're not exactly clear on what the other person is actually, referring to, what kind of an answer do they want, it is completely okay for you to ask more questions. Okay. All right. Now, what is the second thing that is really helpful? So sometimes, again, I'm going to throw an instance at you, and I would love for you to let me know if this is something that has happened with you earlier or not. So sometimes when we are feeling very nervous, as you mentioned in the beginning, that we are in a conversation or in a classroom or in an interview, and we know that it is our turn to kind of now stand up or speak in front of people. Sometimes when we start speaking, we're so nervous that the first few words that come out of our mouth, we feel that, oh my god, this is not my actual voice. I sound completely different than I sound in my usual conversations. Is that something that has happened with you? So I'm talking about situations and instances when you feel extremely nervous, and then you will realize that, oh my God, when I start speaking, this is not me. This is not how I sound. And why does that happen? It happens because of multiple reasons, but a couple of prominent reasons are that we are always trying to get it right. We are always in our head. Okay, so we get in our own way, and that is something that we shouldn't do. So it is always recommended to warm up your voice to get a good start, so that when you start speaking, you sound like yourself. And if your conversation starter is good, or if you start on a good note, then you also feel more confident. ओके, सो यूजुअली ऐसा होगा कि जब आपने कॉन्वर्सेशन स्टार्ट करी, अगर आपका स्टार्ट सही नहीं हुआ, यू विल गेट इवन मोर नर्वस, and there is a very good probability that you will end up missing the whole conversation. But if you start off very confidently, then you are more likely to have a better control and fluency while you are communicating. All right, all good so far? Any questions that anyone has? Does this make sense? Do you feel that this is something that is going to help you? Come on, folks, you promised me that you will be really prompt in giving me answers in the chat box. First one by Senthil. Okay, Sai Siva, Soham, yes, it is useful. All right, so warming up is very important. Now let's talk about the third tip that I actually really wanted to cover in the session today, and I think it is very important for all of us today. So the third tip for today is that you need to respond and not react. Can any one of you tell me what is the difference between responding and reacting? I would love for you to kind of raise your hands and tell me or answer this question through audio. Come on. You can simply raise your hands here. And then you can let me know the answer of this question, which is telling me differences between responding and reacting through audio. So if someone would like to volunteer and speak with me directly through audio, that is something which is really, really appreciated. But otherwise, you can also let me know your answers in the chat box. Shubham is saying taking time before answering. Okay, what else? Till then, Shubham, I do have a question for you. So you've partially answered it correctly. You've said that you do take more time before answering, but what is that extra time allowing you to do or allowing your brain to do? Till then, I'm waiting for other folks and other students to let me know their answers in the chat box. My question that I've asked to all of you today is to tell me the difference between reacting and responding. All right, so Senthil is saying only answering to the particular question is responding. All right. What else? You can actually also take a hint from my screen. React is immediately answering and responding is answering after thinking for a while. Reacting is your natural instinct. Okay, so I believe that most of you are also really close to the answers here, which is right. Okay, so when you do get a question or when you find yourself in a tricky situation wherein you need to come up with something or you need to speak out, usually our brain is trained in such a manner that we instantly, without thinking, just start saying. We start saying things that come to our mind without giving it a proper thought or without giving it a proper structure. Now, what does responding or reacting is? Reacting is the same thing that I've just now mentioned. Responding is actually thinking about what the other person has asked and also giving some structure to it. Okay, now we will actually in the further slides also learn more about the components of effective communication, but the structure actually helps you understand the how part of the conversation. Okay, so if I'm talking about communicating, there are two key levers. One is what do you need to say, and the other one is how do you need to say it. All right. So what do you need to say is something that you already know. More or less, you know what do you need to say. But how do you need to say it is actually a key skill that all of us are trying to learn here. A lot of you also mentioned, in a couple of instances earlier, I was actually going through the chat box and you mentioned that whatever is going on in our mind while we start communicating, we feel that we are unable to exactly portray or bring out our thoughts that are going on in our mind. So usually while we are in a conversation, we feel that we know, what to say. But when we say it, then we realize, oh my God, this is something that I didn't think that I will say, or this is something which is still incomplete. So I still have thoughts in my brain and in my mind. But when I've actually said all of those thoughts out of my mouth, then my brain thinks that this is not something that you have completed perfectly. Okay. So we should always respond and not react. That is another lever that I would like all of you to take away from this session today. The other one, and a funny one, is actually it's dare to be done. So a lot of times we actually want to get it right. We want to make our conversation perfect, which is never true. So you cannot actually master or get a conversation perfectly because there is no one way to kind of master it or learn it or say it. Is that right? So usually our brain is also tricked in a sense wherein we feel that if we are having a conversation, it should be 100 on 100. And that is why sometimes, because of that external stress and pressure that we have, on ourselves to kind of ace or master the conversation that we're having, we tend to make mistakes. So it is completely okay for you to, just be normal, just not over stress or overthink about the communication, because that overthinking will ultimately result in more stress and more nervousness, and it will increase your anxiety. While if you don't think about that conversation too much actively, you would be able to control your anxiety better. All right. The last one is also a key tip. Every conversation or every engagement or every activity or every opportunity that you get, to kind of come out of your comfort zone and interact with someone, speak to a group, speak to an individual, speak to a colleague, a mentor, an instructor, or a teacher for that matter, is an opportunity for you. It is another learning experience for you that will result in making your communication skills better. Okay. So I actually was speaking to a couple of students, a few days back, and one of those students actually mentioned to me that he said that, communication is something that I absolutely do struggle with. But I am actually doing one thing which is helping me overcome my fear of public speaking or effectively communicating. Now, what was that one thing that he was doing? He said that I am actually actively participating in certain college societies or college clubs, for example, the debating society, or the theater society, wherein you are required to kind of go ahead and speak to people, in spontaneous situations. So whatever works for you, see, learning a skill or mastering a skill or getting better at something is different for different people. All right. While for someone, just listening to podcasts or articles or watching videos might help, for other people, you will actually find that things that are working for them are completely different from, things that are working for different set of people. So you really need to understand what are the tools and what are the mechanisms that work better for you, and just do more of what you enjoy. Because if you're enjoying learning a skill, it is only then that you will be able to continue it for a longer duration of time as well. Let's say that you enroll yourself in the debating society, and debating is an art form which you absolutely hate, or you can't do it, or you can't sustain it. Then you will actually be able to force yourself and trick your mind into doing it a couple of times, but after a while you will stop doing it. Okay, so just find avenues that also give you some kind of joy or happiness, and also gives you an opportunity to increase your effectiveness in terms of communication. It is only then that you will actually be able to benefit the most and improve your communication skills. All right. Okay. So I am taking a quick pause here to answer some questions. If you do have any questions, you know what to do now. You can either ask those questions by putting in comments in the chat box, or you can also, go ahead and unmute yourself and speak with me. So I have a question by Senthil. He's asking that please suggest a few techniques to acquire a lot of words. Okay, so I think what you're actually trying to ask me is that how do you kind of improve your vocabulary? Is that right? Can you please confirm? Okay, so again, it is different for different people. For a few people, just listening to podcasts is something that helps. While for other people, reading newspaper on a daily basis is helpful. Some people, speaking with people who have a little bit of a better vocabulary than you is also helpful, because then while you're conversing with them, you can actually you can find out, or you can evaluate which are the new words that the other person used which you were not aware about, and then you can personally also ask the meaning and the usage of that particular word from the other person as well. In case if you're unable to do that, you can always come back and Google stuff and then learn more words. Now, basic practices and a traditional practice that a lot of instructors or mentors or teachers or trainers would recommend is that learn one new word every day and try to fit in a sentence. I'm sure that you would have heard about this practice from a lot of people, but again, that is what I mentioned while I was referring to finding solutions that you actually enjoy doing or love doing. Is that if I tell you to find or to learn a new word every day and fit that into a sentence, you would hardly do it for a week and then you would stop doing it because it is a boring practice. It is a boring exercise. What is actually fun is to make a habit of listening to different podcasts. Eventually we will, I've seen people who travel or commute on a daily basis, and during their commute or during their travel time, they have a habit of listening to podcasts by different artists and different people. And that is something that has actually helped them improving their communication skills as well. Any other questions in the chat box? Okay, no other questions. सबको सब कुछ clear है, सब कुछ समझ आ गया? One question, yes, please go ahead. Come on, I'm waiting. Senthil, are you still typing? No other questions, anyone, on whatever we have discussed so far? How to effectively negotiate CTC. Okay, this is also something that I can probably go ahead and talk a little bit about. Okay, Ashraf, I am actually sending you a request for you to unmute yourself. You can now, yeah, go ahead.
Hello, sir. Audible, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you, Ashraf.
Sorry, I can know in Hindi, sir, but I can't speak in English. I am very struggling.
Okay, what is your local language, Ashraf?
Sir, Hindi, sir.
Hindi.
हाँ.
अच्छा, तो हिंदी में आप बात कर पाते हो, बट इंग्लिश में आप उतना इफेक्टिवली बात नहीं कर पाते हो, आप यही कह रहे हो?
हाँ, तो क्लास में कुछ स्टैंड करके बात करना तो शेक सर.
अच्छा,
Struggling to speak.
राइट मैं बेसिकली आपको चैलेंजेस बताता हूँ, अशरफ एंड अदर पीपल हु नो हिंदी. सो आई विल बी आंसरिंग दिस क्वेश्चन इन हिंदी बिकॉज अशरफ इज मोर कंफर्टेबल फॉर मी टू स्पीक इन हिंदी. सो यूजुअली होता ये है कि जब हम कॉलेज में होते हैं या जब हम स्टूडेंट होते हैं, तब हमारे पास एक सर्टेन सेट ऑफ पीपल हैं जिनके साथ हम सराउंडेड हैं, है ना. मतलब वो लोग कौन हैं? हमारे फैमिली मेंबर्स हैं, हमारे कॉलेज के दोस्त हैं और हमारे कॉलेज के टीचर्स हैं. तो यूजुअली क्या होता है कि जब भी हम किसी से बात करते हैं, और कम्युनिकेशन एक ऐसा स्किल है कि जब तक आप बात ही नहीं करोगे इंग्लिश में, और जब तक आप बात कंसेक्यूटिवली या फिर रेगुलरली नहीं करोगे, तब तक वो आपका स्किल इंप्रूव नहीं होगा. अब बात करने के लिए सबसे बड़ी रिक्वायरमेंट क्या है? बात करने की सबसे बड़ी रिक्वायरमेंट है कि हमें लोग चाहिए जिनसे हम उस लैंग्वेज में बात कर सकें जो लैंग्वेज हम सीखना चाहते हैं. तो जब हम कॉलेज में होते हैं, अब दोस्तों से बात करते हैं, तो अगर मतलब यूजुअली जैसे जब मैं कॉलेज में था और मैं हिंदी में बात करता था, तो मेरे सारे दोस्त भी हिंदी में बात करते थे, करेक्ट. मैं घर पे आता हूँ, घर पे मेरे पेरेंट्स हिंदी में बात करते हैं, टीचर्स हिंदी में पढ़ाते थे. तो मेरे पास ऐसे लोग ही नहीं मिले मुझे जिनसे मैं इंग्लिश में बात कर सकता था. और जब तक मैंने लोगों से इंग्लिश में बात करनी नहीं शुरू करी थी, तब तक ये जो स्किल है ये मैं नहीं सीख सकता था. ओके, सो पूजिता, आई एम kind of repeating Ashraf's question in English so that you first get to know what the question is, and then I will go ahead and also answer this question in English. But Ashraf, आपको समझ आया जो मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ?
आया सर.
है ना. तो सबसे पहले आपको ये ढूंढना पड़ेगा कि आपको यू नीड अ पर्सन, आपको भी बंदा चाहिए जिससे आप इंग्लिश में ज्यादा से ज्यादा बात कर सको. अशरफ, स्टार्टिंग में थोड़े challenges आएंगे, but इस particular skill को master करने का तरीका या फिर सीखने का तरीका सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक ही है कि जितना ज्यादा आप इसे प्रैक्टिस करोगे उतना ये ऑटोमेटिकली बेटर होगा, और जितना ज्यादा प्रैक्टिस करोगे उतने ज्यादा आपका जो कॉन्फिडेंस है वो भी बिल्ड होगा, और आपकी हेजिटेशन जो हिचक है वो धीरे धीरे कम हो जाएगी. ठीक है. So, Pujita, what Ashraf was asking, he was saying that he is actually comfortable in Hindi, but when it comes to English, communication skills or verbal English speaking skills, he is not that much confident. Now, what usually happens in cases like this, and what my answer to him was that communication is an art form, it is a skill that can only be improved with practice. Just to give you or make you understand what I'm trying to say is that if I am not really confident in speaking in English, but I hear someone who is effectively speaking in English, just hearing someone would not magically also make me effective in my verbal communication skills. What will actually help me increase my efficiency with verbal communication skills is how much am I speaking in English. Okay, it is as simple as that. So in order to learn any language or any skill or any art form, there are two components that are very important. One is finding the right person, the right mentor, the right teacher, or the right instructor. And the second is how much are you able to practice. Even if you get a mentor or an instructor or a friend who is eager or willing to help you, but you are not, practicing enough, still you won't be able to learn it. If you are practicing enough, but you don't have any teacher or a mentor or instructor to guide you, again, you won't be able to effectively improve your verbal communication skills. So that is there. Two components, दो चीजें हैं. एक तो आपके पास एक जरिया होना चाहिए, एक एवेन्यू होना चाहिए, एक पर्सन होना चाहिए जिसके साथ आप बात करके ज्यादा से ज्यादा बात करके अपना स्किल इंप्रूव कर सको. और दूसरा, आप में विल होनी चाहिए, डेडिकेशन होनी चाहिए टू प्रैक्टिस that particular skill multiple times, in a day or a week or a month. Ashraf, anything else that you would like to ask? कोई counter question है आपका, कुछ समझ नहीं आया तो आप मेरे से वो भी पूछ सकते हो. Okay, so Bala Subramaniam is asking, can I know how did I improve my communication in English? Is that what you're asking, Bala Subramaniam? Okay. All right. So to actually talk about it, I am actually also just, stopping my screen here for a second. So if I talk about myself personally, I think in short, I actually improved my verbal communication skills the hard way. Why am I saying the hard way? Because when I was in school or when I was in college, I was an extreme introvert. Okay, I know it wouldn't seem to you that I was an introvert right now because I'm taking this particular session. But when I was in school or college, I was extremely nervous, in communicating or speaking with people. Again, because of very similar reasons that all of you mentioned in the beginning of our session. Will people judge me? What if I make a mistake? People, will have a mindset or will have this impression of me in their minds, right? So all of these thoughts used to come into my mind, and I used to refrain myself. I used to bound myself that I would ignore a certain set of people that I know will communicate with me in English. Okay, so I deliberately used to ignore people who would have actually helped me, right? So these are some common mistakes that we do as students or as human beings while we are trying to learn something, because we feel that these people are already experienced and they know much more than I do, and how can I directly kind of go and start speaking with them in English because I'm not that good at it right now. Again, what are we trying to do? We are trying to be perfect at it. We are actually getting, in the middle of our own way. So we are stopping ourselves. No one else is stopping us, but it is our mind that is stopping ourselves. Okay. So coming back, again, so I was an extreme introvert in school and college. But while I started working at Urban Clap and Urban Company, I actually got an opportunity to lead the marketing efforts for Urban Clap in the city of Hyderabad. Now, while I was doing that, again, till that point, again, I was an introvert. I used to find these conversations or communicating with people extremely hard, and I used to ignore it with every possible reason that I could find. But then in my work role, I was actually given the responsibility to handle the influencer marketing for Pan India for Urban Clap. And a major or a majority of my role back then was to actually speak with these influencers and to kind of network with them, collaborate with them. But one thing that that particular role required me to do was to call these people and communicate with them. Okay, so this was a project that I was doing for about 2 to 3 months, and every day I was speaking with new people. Every day I was meeting strangers and I was speaking with them. And again, who was I speaking with? I was speaking with influencers who are actually trained and are extremely good at speaking, right? So I was speaking with a bunch of people who were really good at a skill that I was extremely afraid of. So again, what I did, or what I had to do, was to keep at it, keep doing it, because my work or my job or my role demanded that from me. Okay, so this is how excuse me, when I started doing it, and when I was doing it on a regular basis, eventually I realized that the more you do it, the better you will be at it. There is no shortcut to it. There is no magic wand that you can probably just use to magically improve your verbal communication skills. It is very, very simple. You need a person, or you need multiple people that you can speak with in any language that you want to learn. And then you kind of need to do that on a daily basis so that eventually you get better at it. All of you are from technical background, I am assuming, or some of you are from non-tech background as well. I ask you a very simple question. If you don't practice coding skills, let's say on a daily basis or a weekly basis, do you feel that you will be able to land a job as a software developer? The answer is no. Correct? Do we have any one here who knows how to play an instrument? Any instrument? Any of you who know how to play an instrument? Please do let me know in the chat box. No one. Okay, so a common question on this then. Do you feel that musicians or people around you or people that you know who play an instrument, do you think that they learned how to play that instrument in 1 day or 1 hour? Or did you think they practiced learning that instrument on a daily basis, and after a while they were able to get better at it? It is pretty simple. It is not just about communication in general. It is about learning a new skill or mastering an art form. You can only get better at any skill, be it learning a new language, learning music, learning how to dance, learning how to cook. It can be anything new that you're trying to learn. You actually need the same two components to learn that skill as well. Number one, you need a mentor or a trainer or an instructor. And number two, you need to have your own willpower or dedication and self-motivation that will enable you to practice that particular skill regularly and preferably on a daily basis so that you eventually get better at it. Okay. Now, I hope that I answered your question, Balasubramaniam, and anyone else who actually wanted to understand that how was I able to improve my own communication skills over time. Now, what am I referring to, and what is the learning that you should take from my personal experience is that I when I started answering this question, I told all of you that I had to learn or I had to improve my communication skills the hard way because I didn't have any other option. If I wanted to stay in the job and if I wanted to have my own job security, that was the only way out. Okay, so it is a more stressful situation than we are in right now. Right now, we still have the flexibility to make more mistakes, experiment with different things, and find what works for us, and then do that, consecutively or for a lot of days until we get better. But when the situation that I was in, it was a huge risk, right? I was already working, and I was already in a role that demanded a lot of, speaking skills from me, which I was not very comfortable in. So then I actually had to do a lot of effort personally as well to ensure that I'm able to do justice to my work and I'm also able to learn a new skill. But you guys still are in a very, very good spot because first is that you're self-aware, right? So you know that this is something that you want to improve. You also have a fair sense of idea as to how you can improve it, probably from this session as well. And now what you need to do is just execute. Okay. All right, so I am coming back to the presentation. We only have a couple of slides left. Okay, so moving on, how it works eventually. If we talk about communication in general, there are broadly two levers to it, okay? Number one, or the step one, is to think about what do we need to say, or what are we talking about, what are we chatting on, what are we communicating on. And the second step is that how do we say it. Now, step two is extremely important and extremely critical because here, when we are thinking about how do I need to say what I need to say, I also need to apply some sort of structure to my thoughts, right? Those structures, while they are connected, they will further result in an effective or a fluent communication. Until and unless we don't have any structure in our minds, we might still be able to blabber stuff out. But for the other person who is listening, it won't make complete sense. Why? Because it is not structured. Do you all agree with me on this? Do you feel that having a structure in our conversation is important for us to ensure that we are able to effectively communicate with the other person? Can you please quickly let me know in the chat box if that makes sense? Okay, I think all of us are actually really hungry. We have started having our dinner, or we are sleepy and we're just lying down and listening to someone who is again blabbering. Is that what we're doing? You can be honest with me. That's completely okay. If you're tired, if you feel that the session is boring, you can let me know in the chat box, and you can also actually go ahead and let me know how can I improve it. But if you're here to learn, if you feel that whatever I'm telling you is, even a tad bit helpful for a lot for you, I would strongly recommend that you interact with me in the chat box. Okay, so I won't take more than 5-7 minutes of your time. This workshop will be over in the next 5 to 7 minutes. So if you can hold your hunger for 7 more minutes, I can ensure that all of you have a great time in the session today. Okay, awesome. So when I say that you need to, set some structure to your thoughts, what do I exactly mean? So just ask 3 questions to yourself, which is what, so what, and now what. All right. So when you know that you need to speak about something, that is the what of it. When you say so what, you are actually thinking, about the deliverables or the pointers that you will be using while you are having a conversation. And now what is the benefit or what is the impact of the conversation that you are going to have? Now, when you stitch all of these three components together and start communicating, you will naturally feel that your conversation is much more elaborate, it is much more convenient and a lot more effective than it was earlier. All right. So this is pretty much it. I have one last activity that I want to kind of start here, and I want all of you to actively participate in this activity as well. All right. Now, I hope that all of you are listening to me carefully, because I am only going to repeat the instructions for this activity once. And what I need you to do is that I need all of you to kind of raise your hands, because I would like you to do this activity through audio. It is very simple. Okay, so the first person who raises their hand, and let's say there are 10 or 15 people who've raised their hands. So the first person will actually look at this picture that you see on my screen and will say only one sentence in any language that they prefer. It can be in Hindi or in English or a mix of Hindi and English. And that is it. Now, the second person who comes or who volunteers will actually say another sentence in connection with the first sentence that the first person had said. And then naturally we'll be building a story on the picture that you can see on my screen. It is going to be really fun. I need a couple of volunteers for this exercise. I will personally start. If you folks want me to start, I can probably throw in the first sentence, and then you can actually go ahead and build a story on what you see on my screen. Okay. Can I see people raising their hands? Ashraf, would you like to go first? Ajay, Akula, Ankita, I can see a lot of you. Come on. I need a couple of volunteers for this to work. Or if you are more comfortable, you can also let me know, in the chat box. All right. So Riddhi says yes. Okay. Deepak says yes. So, okay. So I'm repeating it once again. It is going to be a really, really fun exercise and very simple also. All right. So what you see a picture, a photo on my screen. What is the task that you need to do? I will unmute one person, and then I will unmute the other, and then I will unmute the other. So this is how we'll go in a random loop. The first person who gets unmuted will just form a sentence, a one line on the image that they see on my screen. It can be anything, right? Be as creative as you can. Don't stress too much about it. So using learnings that we have had in the session, just try and make this as casual as we can and don't stress too much about it. And then the other person will actually throw in another sentence in connection with the first one, so that we are able to put in some structure and build and create our own story. All right, cool. So I can see Deepak who's raising his hand. So Deepak, I am allowing you to talk. Just 1 second. Okay, so Deepak, you can go first. Deepak, you will need to unmute yourself.
Hello, sir.
Hello, hi, how are you?
I am fine, sir. And what about you, sir?
Good, very good. I also want to, I'm really happy that you volunteered to go first, Deepak. So, आप बिल्कुल creatively जो भी आपको इस फोटो या इस इमेज में से सबसे ज्यादा अच्छा लग रहा है, एक लाइन बना के बस आपको चले जाना है. The next person who comes, they will build on the sentence.
Okay, sir. Got it, sir.
ठीक है.
As per the photo, I can see and understand that it is the period of during COVID-19. A boy is attending a Zoom class and seeing outside there is a lot of virus, sir.
Okay, all right. So I'm repeating it for the larger benefit of the group. What Deepak has said is that it is COVID time. There is a boy who is attending a Zoom meeting from his home, and he is looking out, and he sees that there is a lot of chaos, and the virus is spreading out. Right, right,
Yes,
Deepak?
sir. Yes, sir. Sir, may I ask you one suggestion, sir?
Sure, sure. Please go ahead.
Sir, basically, I have little bit buffering problem. So as per what I have said previously, sir, is there any pronunciation that I misspelled?
So today, I think right now what you have mentioned, it was completely okay, Deepak. I couldn't find anything wrong with the conversation. So like I think just keep at it, just keep doing it, and you will be able to get a strong hold on it. So इसका एक ही तरीका है कि आप जितना practice करोगे उतना
Oh, yes,
better
sir.
हो जाएगा आपका skill.
Thank you, sir, and it gives a boost to me, sir.
No problem. Happy to help. So
Okay, sir.
before we actually build on this story, guys, I'm actually also launching a poll, on Zoom, and I would also love all of you to answer this poll. अभी आपको आपके screen पे दिख रहा होगा. So there are 4 questions that you can see on my screen. And I would want all of you to answer these questions first before we can go ahead and build the story. So the first question is, would you like to enroll for a dedicated 2 to 3 month course on employability skills? So when I speak about employability skills, communication is a subset. It will naturally be covered, and I will personally be taking this course for all of you. So employability skills may communication, personality development, confidence building, interview prep, resume building, digital literacy. How do you Google stuff? How do you find the perfect job for yourself? How do you write emails? How do you reach out to people? How do you network with people? All of this will be covered in this program. And then if you feel that you would be willing to enroll for this program, what will be the ideal mode of learning that you will prefer for this course? Would you prefer a live online course, only like a recorded self-paced course, or a mix of both, a bit of a recorded course and also a live online course? And how many hours will you be willing to dedicate to this course in a week? Less than 5 hours, 5 to 10 hours, or more than 10 hours? And how much will you be willing to pay to enroll for this course? Is it something? So again, this is something that you will be referring to with the mode of the delivery of the course as well. So if you feel that you want a live course only for a duration of 2 to 3 months, then naturally the price of the course might go up. But if you feel that you only want a recorded course, then you can probably have it in the 3 to 6,000 price range as well. But all of these questions will help us a lot in understanding whether this is something that you will actually benefit from. If you feel, because when I talk about communication or confidence building or personality development, these are the skills that will not only help you, secure or land your dream job, but these are life skills which will help you in your life as well. है ना? So जॉब के बाहर, कंपनी के बाहर, काम के बाहर, पैसे के बाहर भी बहुत बड़ी एक दुनिया है जो हम सबको जीनी है. तो वो दुनिया जीने के लिए हम ये कुछ ऐसे स्किल्स हैं जो हमारे पास होंगे तो हम बेटर तरीके से अपनी लाइफ को लीड कर पाएंगे. We'll be more confident. We will be, better groomed to have a conversation or move to a leadership position in our professional career as well, because these are not technical skills. These are not hard skills. These are life skills. So I don't even like to call them as soft skills, like a lot of people do. I actually like to call them life skills, because you are actually widening your horizon, or you're getting a broader view on life through these programs or these courses, rather than just learning coding or learning technical skills. All right. So I can see only 10 out of 27 people have given their vote so far. I'm just waiting for a couple of more minutes, folks. Come on, all of us, we need to fill in this poll before I go ahead and continue the workshop. जल्दी से 4 ही सवाल हैं, चारों सवाल बहुत आसान हैं। क्या आपको लगता है कि एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी स्किल्स पर आप एक डेडिकेटेड 2 से 3 महीने का कोर्स करना चाहोगे अगर AccioJob इस कोर्स को लॉन्च करे तो? और अगर करना चाहोगे तो क्या वो रिकॉर्डेड कोर्स होना चाहिए या लाइव ऑनलाइन कोर्स होना चाहिए या हाइब्रिड होना चाहिए जिसमें रिकॉर्डेड वीडियोस भी हो और लाइव क्लासेस भी हो? और कितने घंटे आप हफ्ते में इस कोर्स को देना चाहोगे? 5 घंटे से कम, 5 से 10 घंटे या 10 घंटे से भी ज्यादा? और अगर आप इस कोर्स पे एनरोल करते हो तो कितना अमाउंट आप विलिंग होगे पे करने के लिए? 3,000 रुपए से कम, 3,000 से 6,000 रुपए या फिर 6,000 से 10,000 रुपए? Okay, so 17 out of 27 people have answered. 18 now. 9 लोग अभी भी ऐसे हैं जो मस्त चाय पी रहे हैं, लेट कर सेशन अटेंड कर रहे हैं, नींद में चले गए हैं, गाने सुन रहे हैं. I would request all of you to come back here for a few minutes and respond to the poll that you see on my screen. Okay, so I'm waiting 15 seconds more for you to submit answers to this poll. 10 seconds now. All right, 5 seconds now. Cool. So this is done. I do have one quick poll as well, जो मैंने अभी launch करा है. So which of the following skill sets do you feel that you need the most help with? Do you need more help with digital literacy, which is basically how to Google stuff effectively? Is it written communication skills? Is it resume building or LinkedIn profile building? Please do let us know some of sub skill sets that you need most help with. Okay, only 14, 15 people have answered. I'm waiting 30 more seconds for you to answer this poll. A very easy question. You can select what applies best to you. Okay, 10 more seconds. All right, awesome. Cool. So I am coming back to the exercise now, and I'm repeating what our friend Deepak had mentioned earlier. So he mentioned that these are COVID times, and there's a boy who's attending a Zoom meeting from his home, and he's also looking out of the window and thinking about all of the chaos, and the virus is also spreading, quickly. Now, who is the other person who had actually raised their hands to volunteer? Okay, Bala Subramaniam, you can go next and build on the story. Bala Subramaniam, I've allowed the permission for you to speak. You will need to unmute yourself. After a few people. Okay, Ashraf, would you like to go now?
Yes, sir.
Cool.
So
Over to you.
the Deepak student that has told that the person who there are it is a COVID days, sir. The person who is sitting in front of and the like online classes like colleges or schools, and he was seeing outside of the window whether the cases are increasing or decreasing in her village, because he need to go to study and for college to improve, because the live sections are some not interactive. So he was thinking the COVID cases might decrease and how much month it will take. Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, sir.
Very, very good effort. I am again, reiterating what we've built so far. And guys, remember that you don't have to actually repeat what we have already discussed. You only need to build it further. So a sentence further, and I will do the job of reiterating and repeating what we have built so far. All right. So what we have built so far is that so we are in COVID time again, and there is a boy who is actually attending a Zoom meeting from his home. And then our friend Ashraf mentioned that he is actually studying in a college, and he's looking out and wondering, when will the COVID cases go down so that I can go back to my college again and start learning offline. All right. So this is what we've built so far. I am now moving on to Riddhi. Riddhi, I believe that you also would like to unmute yourself and build on the story further with us now. So I've given you the permission to talk as well. Would request you to unmute yourself.
Yeah, sir. Thank you. Now he is thinking to take his dog outside in the park, but somehow he is not able to take his dog because of this virus.
Okay. All right, cool. Amazing stuff. So what we have built so far, there is a guy, we are in the COVID times. He's actually attending a Zoom meeting from his home. He's looking out the window to kind of decipher or understand whether the COVID cases are going down. If the COVID cases are going down, then he would certainly like to resume his college and also take his dog outside for a quick walk. So this is something that we have built so far. Shubham, I believe that you're also raising your hand. So I have given you the permission to unmute yourself so that you can build this further for us. Shubham, you are actually muted. You will need to unmute yourself. Okay, I am not sure whether Shubham is able to hear us. But anyone else? Balasubramaniam, do you want to go now? Anyone else who would like to volunteer? It is completely okay, and it is a lot of fun as well.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Balasubramaniam.
When dog also seeing outside to go outside and
Okay.
enjoy the environment.
Okay. All right. So what we've built so far, I'm repeating and reiterating once again. So we are in the COVID time. There is a boy who is actually attending a Zoom meeting from his home and is looking out of the window to understand or to know whether the COVID cases are going down or not. If the COVID cases are going down, then he would certainly like to go and resume his college and also take his dog outside for a quick walk. At the same time, our friend Balasubramaniam also added that the dog is also wondering, what is happening? Why is no one stepping out? Why am I stuck here in this room with this guy who's not taking me out for my walk? Okay, so this is something that we have discussed so far. Senthil on the chat has also added that this person is well prepared to stay indoors because there's a pile of toilet papers. All right. So again, after the dog bit, the dog is also wondering whether he'll be able to go out or not. And this person is also really well prepared because there's a pile of toilet papers that we can see inside his room as well. Okay. Anyone else who would like to volunteer? Or probably if you're someone who's already said something, Deepak, Ashraf, Shubham, Riddhi, Balasubramaniam, you can again volunteer and build the story. But we have final 3 people who can say something, and the third person also needs to conclude this whole story. Okay, so Shubham, you're unable to unmute, so you can write that in the chat box, or I am sending you a request. You can probably accept it right now. Yes, Shubham.
Hello.
Yeah, we can.
Sir, am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. So
you have to build
as we
out
can
the
see
sentence.
sorry, sir.
Shubham, I'm saying that the last sentence right now is that this person is also well prepared to stay indoors because there's a pile of toilet papers in his room. So you need to build after this.
Okay. So as we can see, there are lots of tissue, the papers, what we call that paper, sir?
So we can call it like a tissue roll.
Tissue. Okay. So we can see there are lots of tissue rolling. So it basically states that he's some kind of a doctor that is particularly observing this kind of patient that is on his screen. He's as we can see that he's isolated with his dress code, and and that he has a screen that is showing different kinds of germs or viruses on it. So he's a doctor, and basically he's having a pet which he love to play with around, and he's also health conscious. So he has a, a baseball, like we can see here that he
Okay.
has a baseball. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So what we have built so far, I'm repeating once again, and there are last two people who would get an opportunity to say a few more things, and the last person would actually conclude the story. So we are in COVID times. There's a guy who is attending a Zoom meeting and is looking out of the window and is trying to decide whether the COVID cases are going down. If the COVID cases are going down, then he would certainly like to resume his college and also take his dog outside for a walk. His dog at the same time is also very curious and wondering what is happening outside. Why is no one stepping outside? Why am I stuck with this guy in the room? And why is he not taking me outside for my walk? At the same time, we feel and we are able to observe that this person is well prepared to stay indoors because there's a pile of tissue rolls or toilet papers that we can see in his room. And our friend Shubham at the end mentioned that this person seems to be a doctor and he is actually doing video consultations and he has tissue rolls in his room so that he's well prepared for some kind of an emergency as well. This person and this doctor that we have in our story is also, a baseball enthusiast or a baseball player, because that is also something that we're able to see in the picture. So now we have one person who can build the story further, and we will have the last one person who will conclude the story. So can I have like two volunteers for this, please? Anyone who wants to get the last chance to build the story further, and anyone who would like to conclude the story, please let me know in the chat box once, because I can see hand raises from multiple of you. So I'm not sure whether you want to go again or not. You can let me know in the chat box if this is something that you would like to do, and I will give you the option to unmute yourself. Come on, quickly. One person to build it further. Okay, Riddhi, do you want to build it further or would you like to conclude it? Riddhi, I asked that, would you like to build? Okay, you want to build this further. All right, so you can unmute yourself and build this further with us.
So by having this observation, he is explaining his patient that these cases we will be back to the normal very soon. But now we have to follow the precautions and we have to stay in the home.
All right, awesome. Very, very good job. So I am, repeating this story for the final time now, and I want every one of you to hear it carefully. Then any one of you who would like to just summarize what the story is. You don't have to repeat it from the beginning till the end. You can just let us know what what did you infer from this whole story, or this whole experience is something that I would like to I would like to share with the group. Okay, so we have a person who is attending a Zoom meeting virtually and is looking out of the window to understand whether the COVID cases are going down or not, right? If the COVID cases are going down, then he would certainly like to go back and resume his college and also take his dog outside for a walk. At the same time, his dog is wondering, why am I stuck with this person in this room, and why is he not taking me outside for my walk? Now, this person also seems to be really well prepared, because well prepared to stay indoors, because he has a lot of toilet paper or tissue rolls inside his room. This person that we have seems to be, professionally, he seems to be like a doctor and is taking video consultations. He's also well prepared because he has tissue rolls in his room. At the same time, this person or this doctor that we're talking about is also a baseball enthusiast or a baseball player himself, because we can actually see that in the photo. Now, in the video consultations that this doctor is taking, he's assuring people that COVID cases will eventually go down. And until that time comes, it is our responsibility and duty to follow and maintain all protocols so that we can stop this virus from spreading further. So this is something that we have discussed so far. Anyone who would like to volunteer to kind of conclude this story, right? Or do you feel that we have already arrived at the perfect ending and, the story did sound complete? Please do let me know in the chat box. Do you feel that we need to add something to the story to kind of make it complete, or from whatever I've mentioned to you or described to you so far, do you feel that the ending was good and the story sounded complete? Come on, folks, quick answers in the chat box, please. जो हमने अभी तक डिस्कस करा उससे स्टोरी कंप्लीट लगी, या फिर आपको लगता है कि कुछ और ऐड करना चाहिए स्टोरी में जिससे ये कंप्लीट हो जाए? More or less, okay. Senthil is saying more or less. He seems like he is nature lover because of that painting. He also might be thinking about outer environment. Okay, what else? Good job, Fiza. So basically, okay, I am just repeating the ending of the story because I've actually repeated the whole bit quite a lot of times already. So this person is actually consulting his patients and is assuring them that the COVID cases will eventually go down. And until that happens, it is our responsibility and duty to follow and maintain all protocols so that we can stop this virus from spreading further. At the same time, that person or this doctor, he rests and he takes a quick look at the photo of the mountain that he has in front of him, and he thinks about planning his next trip whenever the COVID cases go down. Okay, and enjoy the next trip with his dog. Take him outside as well. Take him on a short trip with himself so that both of them can have a good time after the COVID bit goes down. Is it a better ending now? Do you feel it is better? कोविड खत्म हो जाने के बाद अब वो ट्रिप प्लान कर रहा है, सामने पेंटिंग लगी हुई है, वो प्लान कर रहा है कि जब केसेस कम हो जाएंगे मैं भी बाहर जाऊंगा, मजे करूंगा, डॉग को भी ले जाऊंगा, उसकी भी आउटिंग हो जाएगी. करेक्ट? Awesome. Thank you so much, Fiza, for adding that. It made a huge impact, a huge positive impact, in the story. Balasubramaniam is saying, I think he's not a doctor because he's talking with the cat in the video call. Probably that person doesn't have their video turned on and, the cat is just a display picture, Balasubramaniam. So that is also one way to think about it. Cool. Awesome. Okay. So folks, a couple of very important questions that I have for all of you right now. I know all of you are a bit hungry, and I also need to kind of get home now. But how did you like this session? So I am asking feedback for myself. Did you feel that this was a good session? Did you enjoy it? Did you learn something new? Do you think that we should host more of such sessions for all of you? Come on, I am actually looking for my own feedback, folks, and it will be really, really helpful if you can let me know what you do think about the session. Or let me rephrase and ask my, ask another question. What did you like the most about this session? Come on, let me hear some subjective answers. एक दो line भी आप लिख सकते हो. Please avoid one-word answers. Again, just structure your thoughts. It is again written, communication skills that we're talking about here. So what did you like the most about this session is my question to all of you. Okay, Fiza is saying I joined just 15 to 20 minutes ago. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed. All right. Shubham is saying the story was a fun way to bring us to speak. Okay. What else? Anything else that kind of stood out for you in this session? Anything that you feel we should do more of? Anything else that you have a feedback on or a question on? You can let me know in the chat box. Riddhi, Deepak, Shubham, Soham, Balasubramaniam. I am also waiting for your answers. Okay. Ashraf is saying, I have enjoyed with the help of seeing image building sentences. We can learn how to make sentence and how to speak with others. All right. Will there be coding class after this? So yes, I believe that you do have your pre-course class after this session. Let me just check. The activity part, story building, I enjoyed very much. Thank you, Tejaswini. Yes, Soham, are you keen on it? Did you find this session that much boring that you're really keen on jumping to your coding class? अगर ऐसा है तो आप वो भी बता सकते हो मुझे chat box में. That is completely okay. Deepak is saying it was good experience talking in front of others. All right. Senthil, thanks, Manik. Session was very informative and helpful to improve our soft skills. Still, you did not answer my question about CTC negotiation. Okay, so Senthil, let me come on to that right after we've had, our feedback from everyone. Soham is saying I had some doubts. That's okay, Soham. Let me just check if Ritik is here. Ashraf is saying, thank you, sir, for giving advance and giving valuable time for us. That's absolutely okay, Ashraf. Happy to help all of you. All right. Okay, cool. So let me now come back to Senthil's question on CTC negotiation. So Senthil, I believe that there are a couple of things that you kind of need to think about before you think about how to negotiate on your CTC. Number one is you should know, and I don't know whether you are just a fresher or do you still have some experience in the field that you are applying for. If you are a fresher, then I would highly recommend that you should value experience and exposure over money. Because money is something that you will eventually be able to make in life if you have the right exposure and the right experience. So if you are a fresher, value exposure and experience more than money. That is a key fundamental that I would recommend. In case if you still need to know what are some of the skills or techniques or things that you can do to better negotiate your CTC, have a really good hold on market understanding. You need to have clarity on similar roles that you're applying for in other companies and what are the packages there. You should also have huge clarity on what kind of value or additional value you can bring to the role that you're applying for. How will the organization benefit from you joining the organization? And that is how you can negotiate on CTC. Again, CTC negotiation is something which is a bit tricky, and you need to be extremely polite while you're doing that. There are certain boundaries that you should absolutely maintain, because you don't want to come off as someone who's rude or arrogant or pushy while you are joining a new company. You should be someone who is someone who comes off with some bit of a logic, and that logic you will only be able to apply if you have more context, and you will have more context if you do more research. You will be able to do more research if you speak to a lot of people. Again, this is something which is kind of closely linked to how good you are at communicating and asking the right questions. बिकॉज जितने सही सवाल आप पूछोगे उतना ज्यादा बेनिफिट आपको होगा, उतनी ज्यादा चीजें आपको पता चलेंगी अबाउट व्हाट इज द मार्केट ट्रेंड, एंड that is how you can better negotiate for the CTC. Again, it depends on which kind of company you're joining. If you're joining a startup, then a lot of startups also do offer ESOPs, and they have a fixed pay. Probably you can play with both the levers. If you want a better fixed pay, you can let go of some ESOPs. Or if you want to show the hiring recruiter or the HR manager that you have a longer vision for the organization, then you might want to take a hit or a cut on your fixed CTC, but maximize on the ESOPs or the shares that you're getting for that company. So company recruiters and managers and employers, they do tend to have a lot of skewness or some kind of a bias towards people who negotiate more on shares, because that somehow shows that you have trust on the organization and you're here to stay for the longer duration. Anything else that you want to know, you can let me know, and I would be more than happy to answer that for you. No problem, Senthil. How to cut down fillers while speaking. Okay, so are you saying that how do we cut down? Yes, like the pauses that we have in our conversation? Is that what you were asking? How do we become more fluent? Correct. So again, just if you kind of go back and refer to our two components that we discussed that are very important for effectively communicating. And these components are, what do we need to speak and how do we speak it? So if you master the technique of giving structure to your thoughts, which is how do we speak it, your brain will naturally get more space to think about what do you need to speak. So if you do have, or if your brain does have more space to think about what do you need to speak, you will automatically cut down on the pauses or the fillers, because your mind will give you that flow, or basically the things that you will automatically start speaking about. So initially we do have a lot of fillers, or we pause a lot more because we are thinking about what to speak next. But if we practice this skill of structuring our thoughts, that will enable us and enable our mind to actually get a good hold on how to speak. Now, if my mind's bandwidth is free from the fact that how do I need to speak, I can think more about what do I need to speak. And if my brain is thinking more about what do I need to speak, I will automatically cut down on my fillers or my pauses, because the conversation is naturally flowing, in my brain. Anything else? Awesome. So let me just check if Ritik is here. Just give me 1 second. Okay. I believe that Ritik will be joining in a few minutes. So Ashraf, what I'm doing is I am actually promoting you to a panelist because I have to drop off from this meeting link, and I would just request you to search for. I am writing it here in the chat box in case Ashraf is not. Ashraf, are you here? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, तो मैं आपको पैनलिस्ट बना रहा हूँ. अगर आप सर्च कर लेना कीवर्ड्स हैं प्री कोर्स और ऋतिक और AccioJob, एंड इफ यू फाइंड समवन बाय दीज कीवर्ड्स, आप उनको मोर में जाके प्रमोट टू पैनलिस्ट कर देना. ठीक है?
Yes, sir. More.
हाँ, मोर में जाके पार्टिसिपेंट्स में अटेंडीज में जाओगे, फिर वहां पे ऑप्शन आएगा मोर का, आप उनको प्रमोट कर देना टू पैनलिस्ट. आई एम प्रमोटिंग यू टू द पैनलिस्ट नाउ.
Okay.
आप एक्सेप्ट कर लो. अब आप देखो मोर में जाके ऑप्शन आ रहा है ना.
Sir, more मुझे नहीं दिख रहा है.
पार्टिसिपेंट्स में जाओ.
Participants.
Okay, so Ritik is here. I am promoting him to the pan. Okay, I cannot promote him to the panelist. Ritik, are you still here? Can you hear me? Ritik, I cannot hear you. I cannot see you in attendees. Ritik, are you here?